The CEO of this popular brand makes $29 million each year, and they possess one of the most powerful beverage companies in the world. It was almost shut down a few times for bankruptcy, but thanks to effective advertising techniques and coercive methods, they've been able to make it to the top. Their symbol is known as a globe, and it originated in 1940. Could they be a corporation set on global control? Here are the craziest facts about Pepsi. Hey guys, how's it going? This is your host, American Eye. Now make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, and ring that bell for notifications. Now let's get started. Number 12. Braz Drink. Pepsi wasn't Pepsi at all when it first came out. It was actually known as Braz Drink and was created by Caleb Bradham, who created a concoction at a drugstore where he worked. The word Pepsi is actually Greek for the word digestion, which it was reportedly able to aid. The original recipe included cola nut, which is high in caffeine, vanilla, and sugar. In 1903, Caleb Bradham made his first big sale, selling 7,968 gallons of the syrup. Shortly after, business began to take off. The first advertisement for Pepsi came in 1909 by an auto racer named Barney Oldfield, who described it as delicious and healthy. Number 11. Almost went out of business. Pepsi almost went out of business when sugar prices were all over the place during the Great Depression. People wanted to drink Pepsi, but chances are they were having a tough time getting some because they were either broke or the prices for one were too high. They entered bankruptcy and the company was sold to Roy Megergel. Roy struggled to keep the company afloat and eventually it was sold again to Charles Bluth, who refused to sell Coca-Cola at his soda fountains after a dispute. From 1922 to 1933, Coca-Cola even had many opportunities to buy Pepsi but refused. During the earlier years of Pepsi, the main allure of it was that it was cheaper than Coca-Cola and eventually it would begin to rise. Number 10. Pepsi in Russia. Pepsi might be the unofficial drink of the Cold War for a few reasons. At the 1959 trade exhibition, Vice President Nixon at that time was able to set a meeting with a Soviet leader named Khrushchev. While the two powerful leaders were in a heated debate about communism and capitalism, Nixon hands the chairman of the Council of Ministers a cold cup of Pepsi, and this photo went viral. Little did he know he was taking a sip of capitalism, and he might have liked it. Pepsi would go on to make a huge deal with the Ruskies in 1989 towards the end of the Cold War that would go down in history. Since the ruble was having trouble being exchanged for dollars, Pepsi and the USSR decided to exchange vodka and warships. The agreement included 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate, and a destroyer, which would then be sold to a Swedish recycling company. But for a moment of time, Pepsi had the world's 6th largest fleet. They then went on to joke that Pepsi was dismantling the Soviet Union faster than the government was. Number 9. Other companies by PepsiCo. PepsiCo has been a conglomerate since the 1960s when they formed a merger with Frito-Lay Company, making them even more powerful. Their brand portfolio has become rather impressive, which also went on to include Tropicana products in 1998, Quaker Oats in 2001, and eventually even Gatorade would sell out. It's now the second largest food and beverage business in the world. In 1997, PepsiCo acquired Yum Brands restaurants, including Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, KFC, and Chevy's. But later on, they sold these brands to focus on their snack food and beverages. In 2019, PepsiCo announced that they would agree to acquire SodaStream for $3.2 billion. SodaStream is a company that you probably haven't heard of, and they produce a machine that adds fizz to the drink. It was rather a controversial company who operates in the West Bank and Palestinian territory. Number 8. Ingredients. Although the company behind Pepsi isn't quite as mysterious as Coca-Cola, there are some things the company keeps secret to discourage imitators. Pepsi might only vary slightly from Coca-Cola, but it's a big enough difference to start a cola war. Pepsi is believed to have more lemon oil, less orange oil, and more vanillin compared to their rival. Pepsi contains absolutely no nutritional benefits, and it contains a whopping 41 grams of sugar, which can certainly cause diabetes if you drink it too much. So switch to diet soda, right? There's no sugar, but the artificial sweeteners here might be a little bit suspect. You think you're benefiting from drinking a Diet Pepsi, but then it contains aspartame. Possibly considered to be one of the most harmful toxins found in the ingredients labels, aspartame is about 200 times as sweet as table sugar. It's made up of phenylalanine, aspartic acid, and methanol. It's so sweet that only very little of it is added to over 600 products, and it's the most consumed artificial sweetener in the world. Not only is it likely to increase weight gain, but also with migraines, seizures, and depression, so watch out. Number 7. Pepsi's Lawyer. This company once had President Richard Nixon as their lawyer at one point in time. They caused quite a stir when a communist leader was about to be elected as the president of the country of Chile, which would then rid American corporations from their land, which wouldn't work well for their investments. Chile's new government wanted to nationalize Chile's copper mines, which would mean that Americans couldn't profit from them anymore. In addition, Pepsi had land in Chile that they owned. In response, Nixon sought a coup d'etat of the nation by trying to destabilize their government. Long story short, Nixon, the CIA, and some bribe money from this company got rid of their president, and bottling plants and other US corporations got to stay. Number 6. Mountain Dew Dissolver. As you all know, Mountain Dew is owned by PepsiCo. The capability of modern-day soda pop seems to be surrounded in mystery. Their abilities to dissolve things seems to intrigue many people. Some people writing about urban legends in the 1980s would spread rumors about mice finding their way into soda cans, which were then packaged and then sold across the world. This started off as an urban legend, but turned out to be too true when a man in Illinois found a dissolved body of a mouse inside his Mountain Dew. When he tried suing Pepsi Company, they stated that it couldn't be possible because the mouse would have transformed into some kind of jelly-like substance after 30 days. It wouldn't have passed through the bottling plant if it was still intact. They said that the mouse would have no calcium in its bones after 7 days from the acidity of the popular drink, and by 30 days, they wouldn't even be able to tell it was a mouse. After some gross experiments have been done, it turns out Pepsi was right. It's noted that the tails could dissolve slower than the rest of the mouse, and maybe that's what he found. Either way, he had enough evidence to make it to court, and it was settled for an undisclosed amount. Now everyone drink up. Number 5. 2-liter bottles. Many of us will always see the standard 2-liter plastic bottle at grocery stores around the world. You might have asked yourself, who the heck thought of that thing? They must be making some serious cash. PepsiCo was responsible for introducing the first 2-liter bottle in 1970 after it was invented by a team of scientists working for the DuPonts. The DuPonts have gotten a bad rep for inventing things that turn out to be horrible for us and the environment, so you might want to be a little bit cautious of this. It's made from polyester resin with a complicated name. 2-liter bottles are one of the most abundant items found sitting at landfills, mainly because they can basically last forever. There's only one species of bacteria known to help with the decomposition, and it's pretty rare. Generations in the future, an archaeologist will find 2-liter bottles still intact because they can take as much as 1,000 years to biodegrade. Number 4. How much money they make. PepsiCo was recently able to surpass Coca-Cola on Wall Street, where their shares gained 2.95% for the past 2 years, and 30% over the past 5 years. Coca-Cola stock over the past 2 years went down by 1.45%, and their shares gained 9.25% over the 2-year period. It might be a rather big surprise to many people, considering that Coca-Cola has been on the top looking down for rather a long time. On Forbes, Coca-Cola has a higher ranking for brand recognition, where it ranks in at 6th place, while Pepsi ranks in at 29th place. What it really comes down to, though, is money. Pepsi's annual profit is at $65 billion, and Coca-Cola only reported $20 billion gross annual profit. Keep in mind, though, that Pepsi has a snack food market and sells many other beverages. Number 3. Pepsi's gone to space. Pepsi never misses a good chance to get some publicity, and in 1984, Coca-Cola launched the first carbonated drink into space. That company spent an estimated $250,000 just on the can that would actually work in a zero-gravity environment and not spill everywhere, like we see in this photo. They also had to slightly change their secret recipe in order for this to work. NASA eventually agreed to the idea, and then in 1985, Pepsi decided to join in on the fun. 4 cans of Pepsi and 4 cans of Coke were brought on board. What on earth would the astronauts do without a soft drink on board? Number 2. 200 different countries. Pepsi is sold to 200 different countries, with their headquarters found in Harrison, New York. Pepsi is typically the preferred choice to countries who are actually against Americanization of their country. Coca-Cola is seen as a perfect symbol for American capitalism, and as a way to protest this, people might consider drinking Pepsi instead. Although Coca-Cola still sells more of their soda, other places across the globe still prefer Pepsi. Places where Pepsi reigns supreme includes Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Oman, India, Guatemala, and the Canadian province of Quebec. The country of Japan gets some interesting Pepsi products which are more customized to their taste. They also have a superhero known as Pepsi Man and even Pepsi Woman, which makes for some rather humorous advertisements. And number 1. Pepsi Blue. Possibly one of the rarest types of Pepsi that was ever produced was Pepsi Blue, that launched in 2002 and then disappeared in 2004. It was sold for just a limited period of time during the 2003 Cricket World Cup as a gesture to support the Indian team. It was supposedly a result of taste testing 100 different flavors during a 9-month period. People described it as like drinking blueberries or raspberries or even like liquid cotton candy. It was extremely sugary to say the least, contained the artificial color Blue 1, made illegal in some countries. It's quite rare to come across bottles or cans of Pepsi Blue, and it's actually a collector's item nonetheless. An unopened Pepsi Blue can sell for anywhere from $8 to $75, depending on where it was from and the condition. It's currently only available in Indonesia.